Let's take a second to thank today's sponsor, Anchor. Anchor is by far the absolute easiest way to make a podcast. And when I say easy, I mean easy. First of all, it's completely free, and there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit right from your phone or your computer. Best of all, with Anchor, you can add any songs from Spotify directly to your episodes. So the possibilities are endless on what you can create. Whether you want to create a music analysis, your own radio show, a deep dive on your favorite genre or artist, or something that the world's never heard before, Anchor will even help publish your show to Spotify so you can reach hundreds of millions of listeners. Oh, did I mention there's no copyright on the songs? Yeah, it's that easy. If you guys want to start a podcast that includes music, or you guys just want to start a podcast in general, get started by downloading the free Anchor app or going to anchor.fm. And if you need some inspiration, you can head over to blog.anchor.fm/music from some more idea starters. Thank you so much, and let's get into the episode. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Real Podcast with me, Natalie Barbu. In today's episode, I am interviewing my co-founders, actually. So if you guys are not following along on YouTube or Instagram, you might be confused. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a backstory. I recently decided that I really wanted to start a social media management planning tool, and this was out of a need that I had along with a lot of my other influencer friends / colleagues, I guess you could say, and then also a lot of brands and just people that I was working with my social media agency. We were all having this pain point. So it was me, but also tons and tons and tons of others along with my Patreon. I mean, people that would DM me. I noticed that there wasn't a tool that really planned out your social media efficiently. And shout out to Hani. She was in charge of social media for her company, and she was like, this tool that I'm using just is not right. And she's like, we've tried so many tools, none of them are exactly what we need. And so I took the influencer approach, and I came up with the idea to create a social media management tool for influencers. So that is how the idea came about. And if you guys don't know, I did major in engineering in school, but I didn't learn how to code. I didn't learn how to develop an app. So I was very clueless in the actual execution process, which is what brought me to my co-founders. So we'll talk about that in this podcast. We are all co-founders of an app called Rella, which is going to be a social media management tool. And I decided to interview them because they actually have their own company. They have a company called Collab that they started while they were in school. They're a few years younger than me, so they just graduated this past year. But they started this company where they develop apps and software, websites for other people. I wanted to introduce them to you guys. I wanted to hear their story. I wanted you guys to get to know them a little bit better. And I think it's a really exciting episode. It's really fun hearing our banter. I think it's really fun hearing more about them and, how they came up with their own company, and then how we're creating Rella together. So I'm super excited to introduce them to you. They are not social media influencers by any means, but they've been learning so much about social media, and I'm kind of throwing them in the deep end with it because I do have another announcement. We are starting a podcast together. So don't worry, this podcast is going to still go up every single week. I will not miss a week. I love this podcast more than honestly so many things that I do. So this podcast will still be weekly. And this podcast is very, conversational. I want you to feel like you're in the room with us. I want to hear people's life stories. I want to hear life lessons. I want to have it be a very inspiring and motivating podcast. But the Rella podcast is actually going to be a deep dive into social media. So it's going to be a completely different show. It still will be interview style, but we are only going to be interviewing people that work in social media. So whether it's a social media marketing manager, social media influencer, someone that works as the director of marketing, those types of people. And we're just going to be asking them about the power of social media, tips to grow on social, how to use social for your business, how to work with influencers. It's going to be a lot more technical. It's going to be similar to my Patreon community, which I am now making free. So instead of Patreon, I'm going to be making just a free community for Rella, kind of combining Rella and the Patreon. And I feel like I need to do a whole updated life update podcast, which I might do Let me know if you guys want to hear that, because I feel like I do those on YouTube, but for the people that listen to my podcast and don't watch my YouTube videos. So if you guys are interested in social media, if you're interested in knowing more about the industry, about learning how to grow, about learning how to use the power of social media effectively, then be sure to listen to our very first episode of the Rella podcast. And I think it's funny how this is called the Real Real, and then my other podcast is called the Rella podcast. They all have like the same exact letters in it, not on purpose, guys, but just so happened to work out that way. So the Rella podcast is going to be hosted by me and then one of my co-founders, and each week we're going to be rotating the co-founder that hosts it with me. That way all of them can participate, and it's not 4 people interviewing one person, but also it's going to be really interesting and a different outlook, because I've been in the social media space for 10 years now. They have not. I think the last time Connor posted on Instagram might have been a year and a half ago. So, like he's not an influencer, because they're going to have the perspective of like, okay, explain this to me. Like, I don't know that much about the power of social, and then I'm going to be the one that, knows about the power of it. I've been in the industry, so it's going to be a really cool, I think, dynamic of hosting, and we've already recorded one episode. It's actually live, so if you guys want to listen to it, please be sure to listen to it after this one and subscribe so you get notified whenever there's a new podcast. If you guys want to hear more about Rella and about the app that we're creating, then I will have the website in the show notes. And a huge favor that I have to ask of you guys is, if you guys are influencers, or if you guys own a brand that is on social media, which should be every single brand, if you guys don't mind filling out our survey and signing up for the beta version, if you're interested in signing up for Rella once it launches. So I know that's a lot to take in. I feel like I've just explained so much in such a short amount of time, but I hope that you guys all get it. And of course, I'm going to be updating you on my Instagram, on my YouTube, so it'd be a good place to check out if you haven't already. But this episode is not all about Rella. It's a fun episode. It's like, we're joking around, I'm asking them questions, it's really fun, and it's their first podcast that they've ever been on. So if you want to hear about how 3 guys started a company together right out of college, pretty much in college actually, and hear about our experiences and our perspectives, and I just think it's going to be a really cool episode, and I'm so excited for you to listen. But again, if you guys did enjoy this episode, like I say every single week, please be sure to give it 5 stars. You guys can also subscribe if you guys haven't already. Share it on your Instagram stories that you're listening, because I love seeing those and reposting those. And I am so excited to get into this episode. I know I've said that a lot, but be sure once you're done listening to this to go and check out the first episode of the Rella podcast. And let's get into the episode. Guys, thanks for coming on my podcast for the second time now.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, we've had some technical difficulties, but we're back. We're recording on Zoom. It should be good. But I'm excited to have you on, and we're going to start with setting the record straight. So again, this is some stereotypes, some assumptions. You'll tell me true or false. And first one is, you need to have experience before starting your own company.
Yeah, big negative on that. I think, if we've learned anything, it's that most people don't know what in the world they're doing until they know what they're doing. That makes any sense? A lot of it's just trial and error, throwing whatever at the whatever and seeing what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This was the first time we've ever done anything like this. I know we've had a little bit of internship here and there, but doing something and building something on your own, very new, and have no idea where to go, or had no idea where to go or where to start, but really asking for help and finding those people who have done it before you is where we knew that we had to start.
Yeah, it's not about experience. It's just like your willingness to go continually learn and talk to people that kind of know what they're doing. But yeah, like Connor said, I feel like nobody knows exactly what they're doing. Everybody's kind of in the same boat. But Raleigh's awesome. Everybody's been so helpful. We've got a great group of mentors who have just kind of pushed us in the right direction and helped us kind of get off the ground. So yeah, like Nick said, just asking for help and your willingness to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think you need like actual corporate experience necessarily, but I do think that though your drive and your motivation is more important than anything else. Like, experience doesn't hurt, but it's not a prerequisite, I don't think.
Yeah, definitely.
The next one is, your major is super important in college.
Yeah, again, I'm going to go on the far side of this argument and say absolutely not in terms of what I think a major stands for in terms of, the 4-year education, reading the books, taking the test, stuff like that. I think what we, or me personally, I can't speak for everybody, took away most from college was, I know Natalie, you mentioned this earlier, kind of the intangibles, the soft skills rather of, working hard, managing your time, discipline, how to work through complex problems, whether they be, complex engineering problems or just, complex life problems, I think is the most valuable thing I walked away with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to half agree with that. Being on the other side, or being on that other half of the half, is me and Jay, we had a little bit of computer engineering background. So in terms of what we're doing now, that did really lay the foundation of understanding of coding and what to do there. So technically, I do think it helps in some ways, but the majority of the time, the soft skills that you learn far exceed what you actually learn technically in terms of like, yeah, solving long differential equations or knowing how to draw a circuit on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'll piggyback off of Connor. Super far side of most definitely not. I mean, they say you remember like 10% of what you actually learned in college, but it's kind of the experiences, the people that you meet, that's like the whole thing. I don't think any of us would have been where we were if we didn't kind of end up in, the same major at the same school. NC State has great kind of access and resources to entrepreneurship, and that was kind of our first little experience in that whole realm, that entire world. So I would say that contributed definitely to what we're doing now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think it's really as important as people make it out to be. Of course, if you're, going to grad school or going to like medical school or becoming a lawyer or something like that, like, yeah, it matters what you're doing. But for us, especially building a business, I don't think it matters. Like, I've listened to so many podcasts, so many different entrepreneurs that some didn't go to college, some dropped out, some did, but they majored in something that has nothing to do with what they're doing. I feel like it's just you learn more soft skills than anything and like life experience. And whether college teaches you that or not, or just the age that we are, like 18 to 22, I feel like you grow a lot as a person. So I don't know. I don't think people shouldn't stress out about their major as much as they do when you're 18 and you're deciding where to go to school.
Yeah. I mean, anybody who says they haven't figured out before they're 25 is lying.
Even at 25, they're lying.
Yeah, I mean, even before that. Yeah.
I'm about to turn 25 this week, and I feel so old. I am like,
oh, you're ancient.
We'll throw you a retirement party.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like I'm like, oh my God, I'm almost 30 now. Like, it's wild.
This still got a long way till that. But
this is the end of my life.
Pretty much. And then the next one is you need to have connections to start a startup.
See, I'll go on the other far side of this and say absolutely yes. If you don't know people, you could have the greatest idea in the world, but if it's the greatest idea in the world and you're in your basement, you don't tell anybody about it, it most likely will go nowhere. And John, Ange, and Nick can definitely touch on that. But the only reason we've been able to do anything has been, the generosity of those around us. And as I said earlier, Raleigh is an incredible area where I think the selflessness we've encountered has been unbelievable, really. I mean, sometimes I'll stop and honestly just ask people, like, why on earth are you helping us? Why are you being so kind? Because I mean, they don't have to be. People will go out of their way to help us, whether it be, just giving advice, grabbing a cup of coffee, something like that. And, it's definitely taught us a lot of the generosity of people that are out there and really made us want to give that back to other people, in our position as we progress.
Yeah.
And to talk on that last part that you were saying, Connor, was whereas you kind of hear in the corporate world, it's a dog eat dog world, but we've not experienced that at all in Raleigh. And it's really been a huge help to us and to where we're at right now to have the mentors that we do and the connections. And I personally am not the best at connections or networking and things like that, but surrounding myself with Connor and JA, who are both fantastic at it. I mean, obviously I have a lot to learn from them, but and realizing that that weak point in myself, I would not be able to do a startup on my own without these two here. So
Yeah, it's at any point that you can like help somebody out or benefit somebody in like the same way that we've been helped so much getting off the ground. It's like the greatest feeling in the world is what I would like contribute that to. But yeah, you for sure have to have like a strong willingness to go out, ask for help, realize that you don't understand how to do everything and nobody does. But calling on people and, ask for advice, asking to learn. And that's kind of where it all comes from. So you gotta be willing to really put yourself out there.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because like I actually initially would have said, no, you don't need to have connections. But I guess I was thinking about it in the sense of you don't need to be born with connections. You don't need to have them like in your circle. But I like what you guys said with like, you do need to network and you do need to build connections. So I think you don't need to have them initially, but you have to make them or else it's not going to go anywhere. Like eventually you will need to have connections. So I think that's interesting how you guys said that like so many people have helped you, and it's not necessarily people like that you knew prior. It's also just you emailing, you reaching out, you going into a co-working space and like talking to someone. So all of those count as connections and they all count as networking. So I do think one huge part of starting any sort of business is to meet people. And like I am someone that naturally I'm an introvert. So I'm not like, that's not my first instinct is to like go out and meet people. But I've been trying really hard to like go out and meet people or like email or network. I feel like Nick and I are similar in that where we're not necessarily comfortable in it, but like we know we need to do it. So it's one of those things where eventually you do need to have connections. And like you guys said, like it's not a dog eat dog world. Like everyone I've talked to has been so nice.
You know what? In your case, it's almost more impressive because, and maybe Nick as well. I don't want to compliment Nick too much, but Jay and myself, I would say, are more comfortable going out there. Just saying, going out, shaking hands, introducing. Just I have no idea who this person is. Let's say hi, but we're more comfortable with that. Those like Natalie says yourself, and maybe Nick. It's having it be so much harder for you, but still being able to get past that, put yourself out there. Is extremely valuable, and I think it makes it that much better when it follows through on y'all's end.
Yeah, definitely. And now I guess just introduce yourselves and what your role is in Rella, and also just who you guys are. Give a little bio about you for the listeners.
You want to kick us off there, buddy?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. All right. So my name is J.A., which is John, short for John Ainge. Everybody always thinks I'm introducing myself with my first name and last name. So about halfway through college, I just started saying J.A. But I am the president of Rella. A little background on myself. I think I got into the world of app development when I was pretty young. I was always interested in entrepreneurship and making some money. I threw out a couple little apps in the App Store, and I got super lucky. I was on the top 10 of the free section of the App Store for all of like a day, for an absolutely the lamest thing I've ever made. It was like the sound that the TV makes when someone curses and you're not supposed to hear the curse. It's just like just a little bleep. That's all it was. It was like you just press the button and it just makes a little bleep sound. But somehow it blew up overnight. I got some cool connections off of it. Somehow the paper found out. And when I was like 13, I got like 5 requests to go pitch people in their boardrooms for like ideas for how these companies could monetize with an app.
That's so funny that you were 13 and
I had no idea what I was doing. I would show up with my mom. And at the biggest pitch that I had, I was grounded, and I was like taking all of my notes on my little iPod Touch. And my mom had changed the password to my iPod Touch because I was grounded.
Mom, I need the notes.
And I had to like keep passing my phone to her to like unlock my like iPod Touch while I was in the boardroom. I was trying to do it super nonchalant, but like everybody could obviously tell that I was like getting my mom to open my iPod for me.
You were also 13, so I don't think that really probably phased him too much there, guy.
Yeah, so obviously
They were probably like, this kid can't even open his iPod Touch, and he like built this app. Like,
I still have nightmares about that meeting. But anyway, yeah, I got super interested in all of that stuff, into the whole world of little app development, coming up with, fun little ideas and projects. I did a little bit more of it, and I think I was really thrown back into that world when me and Connor had a conversation like junior year about working on a little app project.
It was senior year.
Was it senior year?
I think it was senior year.
I think it was. Yeah, it was senior year.
Doesn't matter, but I think it's senior. You gotta get your story straight, dog.
That's when I was over there living on Clark. But Connor, somebody reached out to him and wanted to talk about building an app. So I don't know. I don't know. How did you hear that I hadn't made apps when I was a kid?
Well, your and I's relationship for the longest time leading up to senior year was kind of the classic college relationship. You see each other when you're hanging out with buddies, going out and stuff. And I don't know how I heard about what you did or why you did it or anything, but it was a long shot. I was told by, some people who would not be named, like, hey, stay away from that guy, Jay. He's no good.
That guy's bad news. That guy's
bad news. And, I'm glad I didn't listen to them, because you're a pretty swell chap. But no, we got into it, and I don't know how. I guess if we can go over my little background now, I hated computers growing up, kind of the exact opposite of where John Angel was. I was always telling myself, I'm never going to sit behind a computer, never going to do all that. I want to be outside, and you're a kid, you don't know what that means. And getting into college, really did engineering because I didn't know what else to do. And I figured I'll start with something that's hard. And then if I don't like it, I'll just work my way back, which is, where that all started. And then my kind of lunge into the entrepreneurial world was following an internship with a large, corporate company that absolutely terrified me. After that summer, after sophomore year, I kind of, decided that was not for me and I needed to do something. Stuck with my major. I was a little too far into it to change. So, just started to teach myself how to program on the side. And coming out again, we met, I didn't meet, but talked to John Ainge senior year, and don't know why, how, or what I was thinking, but figured I'd ask him if he, would be interested in doing some. And, we started out, that first project and ended up panning out, but it set the stage for where we are now. And, developing all these skills and eventually having met with you, Natalie. And I guess even stepping back further, not really further, but I am the CTO of Rilla. Really whatever that means. I just, write all the software and figure out what's going where, putting the puzzle together.
Whoa. Not all the software.
Whoa there, bud.
Anyways, I'll take it from here. No, yeah, so that's beautiful. Connor and Jay, a little good marriage story there. But
yeah, Nick, tell them how we signed over to the company, dude.
I'll tell that part. But so I'm Nick Kane, COO of Rella, and really I'm going to be working hand in hand with Connor to help manage the development side of things and make sure we got an efficient workflow when it comes to developing the product. Because I don't know why or where this came from, but really after college and coming into Collab, which Connor, Jay, and I started, I really like the organizational side of things, and I think it falls under the role of COO. But again, starting as an early company, you kind of take these names with a grain of salt because you're really doing everything.
Oh, for sure.
But anyways, I actually came to North Carolina State from California, so I did most of my growing up out there. And I actually got my first corporate experience out there in high school. They did an internship program with a local medical device company. And I mean, it was cool and all to be there and get paid pretty well as a kid. But to Connor's point, I was not enjoying the cubicle life, and I understood what it meant to be in that position early on. And it really kind of changed my mindset going into college. So I went into college. I met these two guys. I know Jay and myself took an entrepreneurship course at State, and that's kind of where the wheels started churning, not really putting it at the forefront of my mind yet. But then fast forward to just before graduation, these two guys come to me, and apparently that first app product they had, they thought I was just going to take off and they were going to go jump on this other team. So they signed 75% of collab over to me. And I didn't say shit until they brought it back up. But now we got that operations agreement all squared away.
Hey, Nick,
We
that
were
was
like,
a
Nick,
mistake.
we're about to
Please
make
give
$1
it back.
billion.
We want it back. Please give me my company back.
Oh, me and Connor were so hyped up on this project. It was like the first little collab project, and we were like, we're gonna make $1 million. We're starting an investment round. We need to bring in a pro.
It's so funny. Well, that's a nice story about how you guys all met and how, I mean, I think it's interesting hearing your backgrounds and how different they are and then kind of leading you to the same place, which is cool. So now a lot of people are wondering also how we all met. So I can also answer this. We met because I had the idea for Rella before it was named Rella for a social media planner. And I didn't know how to develop an app at all. I'm not technical. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to develop. So I had asked my friend Tochi, shout out to Tochi, if he knows anyone who can develop this for me. Because I figured, I was like, I went to NC State. I have to know people that know how to code. Like it's such a technical school. So he actually then introduced me to Connor because Connor had collab already. And then we took a call. You were on vacation and it was like 9 p.m. or something. I remember it was really late.
Yeah, I was out in Colorado for my sister's wedding and just got this random text from this random girl named Natalie saying, introduced by my buddy Tochi. And the rest is history. It started out, I mean, it was kind of a long developing relationship as well. I mean, that was back in September of 2020.
Yeah, it was like August or September. And then I had talked to other people, other developers and anyone else that maybe could design but not develop, I was just like trying to kind of see my options and see like the pricing and, who I trust. Because also when you're doing something like this, like they can't just be good. You have to trust them and you have to they have to see your vision. And I just didn't feel that way with anyone. So that's when I was like, I like Connor. I like the team that he has. So I trusted Collab to do it. And yeah, now we're here. So that's how we all met because I was introduced first to him and then he was working with Nick and JA. It's like sounds like a marriage story. Like the way people describe it, it's like, oh, so we were introduced, like it was the right fit. So
pretty much more of like an online dating story. I mean, I think we didn't meet in person until 6 months after we met.
Yeah.
So it was really this long distance relationship trial period, just trying to feel everything out, making sure, you weren't trying to do anything crazy. We weren't trying to do anything crazy. So it was, it was awesome.
Yeah, it definitely took a few months before we decided to partner together. And yeah, now here we are doing this podcast. So it went really well. Nick and JA, how would you say we met?
Through the master networker.
I think the beginnings of the conversations were really mainly between Natalie and Connor, which was fine because we were doing a lot of the design at that point and we had other projects keeping us busy. And then, throughout the process, we were just kind of saying, dude, this idea is really cool. Kind of like had a few conversations and we knew that you were awesome to work with and we've had bad experiences in the past. So it's like, this is nice and refreshing. And then we kind of just furthered that conversation and it really worked out, I think, in the healthiest way possible because it wasn't rushed. It took its time and then it's developed into this more of a I was gonna say stable relationship, but I don't want to keep going back to the marriage.
I like healthy. Healthy is a great description. It really is.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's like you had toxic exes in the past.
Very much.
Yeah, I mean that's for sure a good way to explain it. But I mean, a little backstory for Collab. I mean, we always wanted to find the project that we were really excited about and really wanted to be a part of. Because I mean, consulting is cool. We enjoy it. We get to meet a lot of cool people. But
it's not cool.
Yeah, it was. It's 50-50 cool, not cool. But just meeting another kind of young person interested in doing their own thing is just absolutely exhilarating. I feel like I don't have that many friends kind of my age from school who are out kind of actively trying to do your own thing. So it was like refreshing when you came to us and you were really interested in starting this guy up. And like these guys said, yeah, we had tried to find that kind of relationship before, and it just, I guess we never really aligned with those dangerous exes, those mean people. So yeah, it just ended up working out. It was organic.
So you guys all started collab right out of college, or actually in college. And so I'm curious about how you guys found like your first clients, just because I think it's a lot of people that are listening to this podcast. A lot of them are very entrepreneurial. Maybe they have their own agencies. They might want to have also their own software company. So I'm always curious about like the networking and like how you got those first clients, because it's so hard when you don't have experience to kind of start from scratch and just be like, hey, trust me, I can do this for you. So what was your experience like with that, like building your first app or, getting the first people to trust you and work with you?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the biggest challenge we faced, was the trust aspect of it. But then obviously getting to learn, I mean, it all started with personal connections, right? Our first one was I worked at a gym throughout college, and by happenstance, one day, one of the guys was just walking by talking about how he was looking to develop some software, and it's like, hey, I do that. And then that kind of started that, and the conversations progressed. That one didn't end up working out, but it was really just those early personal relationships with people who maybe had these ideas or wanted to do something, but didn't really know what it was or how to go about it. Kind of similar to your situation. But in terms of the trust aspect, it was really selling ourselves more than, our years of experience. When you're 21 years old, you can't have 25 years of experience. So it was, developing relationships with these people first, and then kind of dissecting their needs, their problems after. It's something we've I think gotten a lot better at is selling ourselves. And we are trustworthy people, I like to think, but meeting somebody for the first time, you need to portray that as best you can. And, being younger, that can sometimes work against us, but I think we've found a good way to actually have that work in our favor.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest challenge is, okay, we're fresh out of college, limited portfolio, how do we really sell ourselves and like capitalize on top of our age and like, kind of the whole young and hungry thing, and instead of it being kind of a detriment. Because yeah, everybody wants experience, everybody wants a huge portfolio, but coming right out, reached out to a lot of our own network of people that already trusted us, already knew us. And I think our second project ended up being somebody that I had worked on like a little app project with in like middle school or high school, and they reached back out to see if like I still wanted to work on it. I was like, hey, this is what we're doing now. Like let's make it a collab project. So yeah, reaching back out to kind of the existed trusting network and really trying to find people, like Connor said, that trust and want to work with you.
Yeah. And I mean, starting off too, just by the word of mouth stuff is tough. And which is why we've reached out to more mentors too, to help us with that client acquisition strategies and being better at selling ourselves and selling our story. So, I mean, in the beginning, you just kind of have to ask around and maybe do the uncomfortable part of reaching out and networking. Right. But in the end, we were really trying to drive home a process to clean that up really and make it more efficient.
And I think with like a startup, even with Rella, for example, a lot of that is also true. Like we haven't started, a huge startup in the past that's been successful and, anything like that. But I feel like we're selling ourselves, we're selling the team, we're selling, we're hoping that people believe in us, that we're the right fit to do this and to bring this to market. So I think there's a lot of similarities between getting your first client and then like pitching to investors. It's obviously the stakes are different, but it's the similar mindset of like, you really do have to pitch yourself and like have them trust you first.
Yeah,
I'd say so.
Yeah. And for sure. Yeah. And it's like, why is this team the right team to be able to, fit into this project? Why is it perfect? So you're exactly right.
Yeah.
Who was it that said that like since it's like the business itself is a piece of paper, but like the entity is more of like the people. So it's really selling yourself and the people. And in your team, that is why it's so important to do that.
I feel like a ton of people say that.
No,
I feel like
I remember that
I think you
recently.
just
Yeah.
made that up.
You're talking nonsense right now. But yeah, I think every mentor I've ever had that goes out and, does like some sort of an investment round is always just start with selling the team and why the team is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one point to add to that, and that's only the fact that it's like finding a relationship, right? Whenever you're looking really hard to find one, you're probably not going to find it. There are exceptions, but as soon as you stop looking and you kind of just let it happen, things generally will come. And that's one thing we've learned is to, look, not even look, but just be ready for connections anywhere. We were out on a ski trip, for example, a ski trip. It was Eastern North Carolina, or not what, Western North Carolina. And, at the top of the mountain in the ski lodge, grabbing a cup of coffee, we ended up, chatting with somebody who wanted some work done. So, I mean, that was just kind of a cool time where it was, we weren't expecting it. We were skiing and, here's this person that now we're connected with. So that was awesome.
Yeah. How do you guys, like, what are some of your networking tips? Because you guys are really good at it. And like you, Jay, you say that you have mentors, and Connor, you talk to anyone, I feel like what are some like, tips that you have to like network and meet these people and form these relationships? Because it's a different relationship than like being friends. It's like, yeah, you're being friendly, but at the end of it, like you're getting something, you're getting something out of it. And so how do you form these relationships? What are some of your tips to network and like to put yourself out there?
So the thing I hate the most personally with, say, somebody I'm trying to network is somebody who off the cuff tries to sell themselves. To me, that's a huge kind of turnoff, where a lot of the connections I've made, I mean, the first ones, again, started out as friends and word of mouth, but really the whole giver's gain thing, where, the more you give to others and just have genuine conversations, not pushing to get anything out, not selling yourself like, hey, this is what we do. If you need anything, let us know. It's really just having a conversation, not even going into it expecting anything to come out of it. Back to the whole, when you're looking for things that you're not going to find them, but as soon as you stop looking, you'll probably find them. Kind of the same thing I think with networking is, if you just let it be organic, similar to our relationship. I mean, from day one, we weren't, hey, let's work together for a long time. It was okay, let's let this develop over time, and go that route. So I would definitely say, just being genuine, really. Don't sell anybody off the bat. Nobody likes, a cold call salesman first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I feel like that's pretty relatively easy to see right through if you're like diving in, trying to force something out of a conversation that's just not natural. I mean, it's so easy to just have a nice nice friendly conversation with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And like along that, at some point you can figure out, all right, things align here. Like maybe I can go a little bit deeper into like what collab does, or whatever somebody else that we're talking to, what they do, if we could work together. But just, I mean, having a nice friendly conversation is always the way to go. And, when you reach out to somebody asking for advice, everybody loves, most people love to kind of offer their help and their experience. It's refreshing sometimes. And I love it when people ask me for advice. I mean, we're only doing this for like a year and a half now, but it feels so good to be able to give somebody like my experience, things that I've done wrong, things that we've done super well. So everybody loves when you're just asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are afraid of not knowing what to say. I think is a lot of the times where people, I don't want to go start that conversation because after my opening line, I don't know where it's going to go. And I think that's another huge, just at least stopping people from even starting the conversation is, okay, after I started, I have this predetermined line I'm going to use, like a pickup line. I mean, kind of, and getting past that and realizing that, awkwardness is really just in your head. It's not really a real thing. And being able to look past that and just, again, have it be organic is super valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all such good advice, because I think people just get too much in their head about it. It's like, oh, I don't know what to say, or I don't know what they're going to say back, so I'm just not going to. Or people feel annoying. People are like, oh, I feel so annoying reaching out. But if you go into it with just genuine, like just asking about them, having a normal conversation, you don't have to be a salesperson. I
Yeah.
think it's so much better. Because I actually did a podcast with someone else who she was saying how she will always, just ask someone to like grab coffee or ask to meet and let them talk the whole time. She doesn't want to be like selling herself. She's just like, just ask about them, ask about what they do, ask advice. And then in your follow-up, in like the second, if you follow up with them like through email, or if you meet with them again, that's when you can kind of share more about yourself and maybe like what you're, kind of network in that way. But it's just like building that relationship first is more important than being like, hey, I'm Natalie and this is what I do. It's like you just have to be a normal person and like talk to them and get to know them.
Yeah,
There's
I feel
a
like
lot of
people
similarities.
overthink it.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between personal first dates and professional first dates.
There is. There really is. People say like business partners are like, it's like a marriage. Like people always say that. It's like you might even see them more than you see like your significant other. So I think it's true.
Nick and I live together, but we don't sleep in the same room. Like we hate each other. So we stopped sleeping in the same room a while ago, and now we got our separate room.
Yeah, that gets a little tough. But yeah, like I'm not the best at small talk, but the one thing that Natalie, you said that I always do is I just fall back on asking them questions. Like if anything, people always love to talk about themselves, not necessarily in a selfish way, but just keep asking questions and we'll just flow nicely. So if I'm ever running out of anything, I just try to find something that they've said that I just ask a question off that, and it just makes it a little more organic if you're not the best at small talk.
Yeah, which is what we're trying to do also. It's what I do with this podcast, which has brought me a lot of opportunities and I've met so many cool people. But with Rella, the podcast we're creating, I think that's going to be so valuable to just meet people in the social media space and ask them questions and tell them about that, just constantly like just get to know them. And then that's how we'll like form those relationships. So I'm excited to start that. And speaking of that, I also had a question about what you guys found most surprising, or what you guys found surprising about the social media world that you might not have known before this year, because you guys weren't really in social media as much as I was. I think that's safe to say. So,
to say the least. Yeah.
So what's something surprising you found out about the social media industry that you didn't know before this year?
I didn't know there were cool influencers.
Really? You thought all were bad? All You painted us all in one light.
I think influencers fall, at least, especially now, under, and I was listening to, I think, another podcast the other day of how influencers are now becoming more celebrities than ever before. And people put celebrities on a different playing ground, or playing field, rather than, we'll call them normal people. So I think that, again, to Jay's point, is one of those, where you think about influencers maybe being one way or not being real people. But I think having worked with you has been, stopping that influence. And, my big thing is just how infinite it is. It's massive. Just how many people, what we've talked of, how many, when I think influencer, I think of, massive channels, right?
Right.
But you forget, and, a lot of the other companies out there, which is the big driving force behind Rella, is you forget about the millions of people who, have we'll call them, a brick and mortar podcast they're smaller. They have a good following, but 10,000 is nothing compared to 10 million, but they still have an audience. So I think, finding that has been really cool.
Yeah. And the one thing that I've noticed a lot when working with you is like how much actually goes into it. You're working long hours alongside us, and it's cool to see that the behind the scenes magic of what goes into all these different things, and how far out your content calendar was, and just all those cool little intricacies that you really don't see obviously at face value when you're just scrolling through your phone. So it's been really cool and eye-opening to see how much work you put into it, and really what it takes to be an influencer.
Yeah, no, I think it's always interesting hearing what other people think about it. And then when you're into it, kind of seeing how those thoughts change, because it's true. Like with influencers, another thing that I think is cool is that people think it's like you were saying, like they're not like real people, or they're, kind of a celebrity status, but it might be because you are thinking of people that have like 10 million followers, which at that point, I feel like you kind of are celebrity status, but there's so many micro ones in that can start, like anyone can start, it's like, I always think of it as like an actress or a singer. Like someone has to give you a chance. A record label, management company has to give you a chance. But with being an influencer and being on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, like you're the one in control. Like you post, you produce, you direct. No one has to give you a chance. It's just like you might go viral, people might find you. So I think that's the difference also, is that anyone can do it. So it's very easy to get into. It's just a lot more work than people might think. But it's not like you have to audition to become an influencer.
No, and from your perspective, is there a difference in the influencer industry between, because a lot of people say, I was super lucky, I went viral. I posted this video of me drinking cranberry juice on a skateboard, listening to Fleetwood Mac, right?
Right.
Do you see, or do you think there's a difference between dumb luck and informed luck in the influencer space? Do you think there's people who actually are like, I'm going to make this video due to these trends that are currently happening, and then, that's going to drive traffic? Or it's just like, hey, I want cranberry juice?
Yeah, I think like, for example, that one was like, I think I don't know if it's dumb luck or just pure luck. I guess I don't know, however you want to describe it, but like
a bad connotation. Yeah, just unknowing luck. We'll say.
I think that it's cool, but it's also one of those things where you might not know where to take it from there. You might be like, oh, this was just a fun video I was supposed to share. Like, I don't know what to do now.
So keep drinking cranberry juice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it has its disadvantages, because then it's like, well, where do I go from here? And like, are the people that are following me only following me for this one video? And so now, like, if I want to do something else, would they still like me? So I think that's like the disadvantage to that, when you're not as prepared and you don't even know if you want to be like go viral or whatever. So I think that's one thing. But then another thing is with people, some people are like, oh my God, she blew up overnight, or this person blew up overnight, or their video went viral. But what you don't see is the years and years and years that they were trying that maybe it didn't go anywhere. And then this one happened to go viral. So it's like, it's not, I don't know if it's luck or just like they finally kind of got it, or they finally, had the one video that did really well. Because for me, I would say I grew slower than most people, I guess. I don't know if most, I guess,
yeah,
slower than the ones I see that I compare myself to, I guess. But it's one of those things that's like, now, yeah, I would say I've successful. I'm like doing this, full time, and like I've had videos that have done really well, but I also didn't do this for money for like 5 years. I literally did this unpaid for like 5 whole years and like didn't get a single dollar. So it's like, it's not all overnight. It's not like, oh, well, now you're making a lot of money or now you're getting a lot of views, because people don't see like all the years and years of work that came before it. So I do think it's one of those things where it's similar to even like, okay, like Lizzo, for example. I saw a tweet that she tweeted. It was like, oh, Lizzo did overnight success and like won this many Grammys. And she's like, I've literally been trying to be a singer for like 5 years and I've been working my ass off to do this. It's just like, now you see it because I'm famous, but like I was trying for 5 years. So I think overnight success is never as overnight as you might think it is, except when the people, I guess, like the skateboard guy, he just like went randomly viral. But like, I don't know what he's doing now. Like, is he an influencer now? Is he?
I don't know. Probably he sat down with Snoop Dogg at one point too, or some other famous people like that, just drinking some cranberry juice with them, or something weird like that. I know that was a follow up.
Yeah, I think it's cool how it could happen.
And do you think that like for me, for example, a non-social media influencer type, I think it's almost not a detriment, but it's harder thinking, people who go viral, post one video and now they're viral. There is that learning curve in that time where you're not making money that I think a lot of people, try and look past. So if they try and get into the YouTube space and make it 6 months and haven't been successful and haven't been able to, build a successful following, then like, oh, screw it. If I can't do it in 6 months, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like you said, in your case, it took 5 years. And that was back really when YouTube wasn't at what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, you're so old. You've been doing it for so long. But no, yeah, and that's why I think, something like what we're working on is going to be extremely beneficial to, if anything, just shed light on the work that goes into, the space and give people, as you mentioned, the proper tools to keep them motivated, to keep driving, keep going, all that stuff.
Yeah, like I would love to have micro influencers on the podcast, as well as bigger ones, as well as people that work in social media on the back end. Like I think that would be really cool, kind of hearing their experience with things, because the world sees it as just you're an influencer if you have millions and millions of followers, or if if you're super famous. But there's so many other people that might not get the like media attention that still have so much influence. And I mean, if you think about it, like 10,000 subscribers is not a lot in the sense of you're not considered a huge influencer with 10,000 subscribers. There's people with hundreds of thousands and millions and all of that. But if you saw 10,000 people in a room, that's wild. That's so many people. Like,
if I had 10,000 people that cared about me enough to subscribe to my channel, I
Right.
would be stoked.
I can't even get my dog to listen to me, let alone 10,000 people.
Exactly. It's one of those things, like even like 500 people, like people are like, oh, I only have 500 subscribers. And yeah, like in the grand scheme of things, not that much in the sense of, how much you can get paid or how like the rankings, I guess, of like how big you are as an influencer. But like 500 people, like that's still a lot of people. And that can still make such a big difference in like if you can influence 500 people.
Yeah.
So especially if you like a small business, like if you got 500 people to buy something from a small local business, that business would sell out. Like it's really powerful, even at a small level.
The perspective has shifted for sure of, bigger is better. If you don't have 10 million, you might as well have none. If you're not first, you're last, as some would say.
No, but the thing I like about kind of what we're getting exposed to from you, Natalie, and just what we're really learning about is all the smaller communities that make up the majority of this space. And that's really where you see the most impact, right? Is where you have these smaller followings. And I know something we're trying to do with Rella is just create a community around it and just people who are interested in learning about the space or like just need help in it. I think that stuff is really cool to see on the other side rather than just seeing like those big million follower influencers and things like that. So probably with millions of dollars too.
It's like the pyramid, or not the pyramid, the iceberg graphic. Have you seen that? It's like the tip of the iceberg. It's like those big influencers, but everything underwater and like that you don't see is everyone else, and they're super, super important. So I think it's really cool what we're doing, and I'm super excited. And I think that if anyone's listening that is interested in social media or interested in the social media landscape or just curious about it, our podcast is going to be such a valuable resource and like such a valuable source for you to learn more about it and hear from the people themselves, not just from us. We'll be asking other people questions. And I think it's cool having your guys' experience because you guys aren't necessarily that into the industry. Like you guys were never in the social media.
You can say it. We don't know shit, or you don't have to beat around the bush.
My last Instagram post was last Thanksgiving.
Incredible amount.
Okay, well, now you guys are in the social media industry, but prior to this, you were not. And I think it's just cool that you guys will be able to like ask questions and get that perspective because I might think things are obvious, or I might be like, oh, everyone knows this, but that's not exactly the case. So it'll be really, really interesting. And especially because since we are a startup, we have been, talking to investors and talking to older people. And a lot of older people might not be as informed in social media. It's like, I think, oh, everyone knows what this is. And like, it's such a big industry. I mean, it's literally going to be a $15 billion industry by the end of the year, which is wild. And some people still don't know what it is, because you think like, oh, well, like my mom has a Facebook or my grandma has an Instagram. So like, how can it be like this big thing? But like it really
grandma
is.
has an Instagram?
I mean, not mine, but
you look have a cool ass grandma.
Maybe someone's grandma has an Instagram. So I should say grandma has a Facebook, mom has an Instagram. That might be more apply to more people.
Well, let's get some more to all the grandmas out there. Let's get you on Instagram. We'll get you build your following.
There are some grandma influencers.
Heck yeah.
They're hip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I bet they got some good baking recipes.
That's a good
a stereotype.
Yeah, that's a stereotype.
Nick, that's bad.
I'll just go ahead and cancel myself right now. So,
So would you guys go back and change anything in the past? So would you change, your major, your college, going to college or not? Like, is there anything that you guys regret?
I have a lot of regrets, but especially
most people when it comes to this answer is like, nope, I wouldn't change a thing.
I'm trying to be real for the people right now. I'm exposing myself. But I mean, obviously there's things in your life that you wish you could have a do over, but in all reality, I love where I'm at right now. And if that means if I had to change something and I wouldn't be in the same spot, I don't think I would. If that is a better answer to the question. One, because
you could lift more weight though.
Yeah, whatever. You threw me off my groove, dude. I was on a train of thought and you just totally derailed it. Yeah, I mean, so long story short, I think I wouldn't change where I'm at. I like where I've ended up, and with Jay and Connor, and now you, just working with you guys has been awesome, and it's really been a fun experience. And I don't think that me sitting in an office making 80 to 100K would make me more happy. It definitely just doing what I'm doing right now and pursuing this passion. So,
If my life were to be written down on a piece of paper and you didn't know me, you'd be like, wow, this guy is an idiot. Like I wonder what he's doing now. Like he's probably, I don't know. I don't want to make fun of any professions, but he's probably doing something bad. But all of those, experiences and I might go the cliche route here. I don't think I have any regrets because the stupid shit I've done in the past has, brought us here. And I'm a firm believer in everything happening for a reason. So, and I'm one of those people where I learn from my mistakes. If I make a mistake, I'll make it once. If I make it twice, then something's wrong. But I don't have any regrets. I love where I'm at, and I'm meeting these guys and you, Natalie. I think it's all happened to get us here. But as soon as you meet me, those worries of what the hell is this kid doing can be put to rest.
I don't know about that one. What about you, Natalie? You got any regrets?
No, I don't really have any. I mean, there's some things that, like, sure, looking back, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? But I don't have anything I would change. A lot of people ask, especially because I don't use my major, they're like, oh, don't you wish that you could like go back and get a different major? And I'm like, I think people just put too much emphasis on that. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, if I did something else, I don't know if that would have, like, I don't think I would have been happier. Like, I don't regret that decision just because I'm not using it. I think it's such an old-fashioned way of thinking that you have to use whatever you studied. Like, I think there's so much more that can be like taken out of what you study, like rather than just like your occupation. And also your job, I just think doesn't necessarily define you. Like, I think if you, like Nick, you said, like if you were making 80 or 100K, you wouldn't be any happier, because I think you're happy doing what you're doing. And that's more important than, working up the corporate ladder and getting an amazing job, but you're miserable, which I see so many people doing. So I think that it's one of those things where I don't, again, a cliche answer, but I don't really have any major regrets that I could say.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could still be crying in like a nice Porsche or something later in life, but right now I'm just gonna stick with my paycheck right now.
Exactly.
Lack thereof.
Well, where can they find you guys? JA had to leave, so he's not here right now, but where can they find all of you three?
Yeah, absolutely. Quick collab shout out. You guys want to check us out for any of your app, either mobile or web development needs. Check us out at www.collabcreative.co, based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Questions, concerns, you have an idea, don't know what to do with it, or you've started the process of bringing a product to market, let us know. And we love helping out, as we said earlier, like-minded individuals who are looking to grow and expand their digital capabilities.
Yep. And then I don't think you guys don't have I'm not going to plug Instagram or anything. You guys are private. Yeah.
You can plug my OnlyFans.
Your OnlyFans.
Yeah. It's actually collabed OnlyFans. It's all pretty fun.
This is why we need an HR rep ASAP.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming on my podcast. I'll have everything in the show notes that we talked about. And then be sure to check out Rella's new podcast. It's going to be uploading every single Wednesday. So if you guys want to subscribe to that, that's going to have all of your social media tips. We're going to be interviewing influencers, social media managers, anyone that works in social media, micro influencers, bigger ones. And we're going to give you very tangible tips and like very specific questions. So that if you are serious about social, learning more about it, curious about it, then that's going to be the best resource for you guys. And then you guys can stay updated with Rella at Rella Social, and then also sign up if you're an influencer or if you are a brand that is wanting to be one of the first people on the platform. You guys can sign up for the beta version on our website, and we'll update you when that releases. So thanks for coming on, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast with Connor, Nick, and J.A. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed recording it. We actually had some technical difficulties, so it was like the third time recording it, or third time recording the intro, I should say. But it was really fun to record. And again, if you guys are influencers, if you guys are brands, if you do not mind filling out the survey and also signing up for the waitlist, which I will have all in the show notes, that would mean so much to us. We are trying to raise money right now, so just having a list of people that have filled out a survey and are on the waitlist helps. But of course, sign up only if you are interested in Rella and if that's something that you are excited to download once it comes out on the App Store. Anyways, thank you again for listening. Be sure to screenshot this, post it on your story, give it 5 stars, all the good stuff. And I will see you guys next week on another episode of the Real Podcast. And also next week, if you guys are curious or interested, in the Rella podcast. So I'll see you there.